So we are going to begin by creating our own hash map. Now, um, interestingly, I'm recording this out of order, so this is going to be, it's not going to appear out of order to you guys. But simply put, I am going to be doing the coding of the data structure first for myself, and then I'll figure out what do I need to fill in as I explain this. That way I don't double up on things. So enter distraction-free mode, enter full screen. So there we go, hash map. Now, when we've been building our other data structures, there's been a couple things we've been doing with generics, like we've been putting an E here for a linked list or an array list. But for here, hash maps have keys and values rather than just one type. They have two types. So we're going to use K for key and V for value. Keep it simple. Key, value. So, right, you can use any type you want for keys, any type you want for values. That's perfectly acceptable. And furthermore, rather than a node, we're going to have our own private static class. We're going to call it entry. Now, an entry is going to be used for our open addressing system. So specifically, it's going to be used to, we don't want to just store the value for the sake of simplicity, and so we don't have to really overthink it. I want to store both the key and the value. So rather than just storing the value in the hash table, or the hash map rather, I'm going to store an entry that holds a copy of that key as well as the thing I'm trying to store. And the reason is just simply to make my coding easier. So rather than having a node E, it's going to have a K and V. Now this may look like it's starting to be complex, but it's not for this part, because really all this is doing is holding things. There's going to be no nexts or anything. This is literally just a box to hold two values of different types. So private K key, private V value, right? We see a K, and that's the key type, V for the value type. And we just create a constructor for this. Public entry is equal to K key, V value. This dot key is equal to key. This dot value is equal to value. And that's what we've got here. Okay, key and key, value, value. And that's our types for that. So now we need our actual variables for here, our actual instance variables. So what we're going to do is we are going to first create a public static final load let's call it max load, and this will be the max load factor, right? Gotta give it the type double. So I've been working in Python for a while, you know, switching between my Pythons and my Java classes, so sometimes forget. Okay, public static final double max load 0. Let's go with 7.5. Now the idea here, if you just to remind you, is that we will be having a variable called the load factor, right? We are going to be sacrificing the amount of space that we can have we're going to be sacrificing a bunch of space so that this is going to run faster, okay? And the amount of space I'm sacrificing, I'm saying that I can only hold 75% of the capacity that I set up. Once 75% of the capacity is filled, once my load factor is 75%, that's when I'm going to reset everything, or rehash everything into a new hash table. Okay, so public, let's go with private int size. All right, this will be your standard size. Oh, right. This will be the standard size function. Private int size. Yeah. Let's put it down here. That was Control Shift and down, by the way. Control. So that was pretty cool. Return size, which we don't have because I'm totally doing this great. private int size is equal to 0. Right, we'll just simply initialize that to 0. Oh, right, I'm in the wrong place here. I am really nailing this. Okay. Private int size. You know, view exit distraction free mode. Yeah. And we'll just simply close this because I want to be able to fold this up. Okay. Private int size is equal to 0. Public static final double max load. Right, and now we need our array of stuff that we're going to be doing. Entry table, private entry table, and this is going to hold all of the key value pairs that we have. Key v table is it's our private table. Some int size, int table, int max load. Is there anything else we need? We can compute the load factor from the we should probably figure out what our initial table size is, or our private. So private int, we'll use the same terminology here as we did for array list. Capacity is equal to, and what we want is, we'll just start out with 10. Okay? We don't want to return that, and this should be a public method, right? I am totally being super awesome about this. Okay, so that's enough so that's everything we need to start out except for the constructor. And then once this is done, we'll start going into our methods. So public HashMap. Table is equal to, okay, size equals 0, table is equal to 10, sorry, capacity is equal to 10, and table is equal to new entry array of size capacity. Much easier to invoke than the array list.